Welcome to the Cape Computer Science Unit 2 Specimen paper. This is paper 2 where I work out all the questions according to the new syllabus that would have been set out in 2022. So it's examinable from 2022 onwards, and every module, when I finish a module, I check the answers that they have in the specimen paper. We check to see if my answers match up to theirs. If my answers do match up to theirs, then we say okay. If they don't match up, I check to see if I made the mistake or they made the mistake. But all in all, it's supposed to help you understand and interpret the questions, and more so see how they mark and see what a mark scheme looks like and the kind of keywords that they look for, and sometimes that their mark scheme may be kind of wrong, and we have to kind of tussle with that as CSEC and CAPE students. So check it out, watch the video. I hope it helps you understand at least the reasoning process for all of the answers that we have, and wherever there are mistakes, I would have checked the answers and see if they matched up. So this should help you out, especially for people, if you've been doing a lot of old past papers. This one will help you understand the new format of the exam, which is a bit different, right? So enjoy the video. Operating systems and computer networks. Batch systems, multi-programming systems, and multi-user systems were significant developments in the history of operating systems. Briefly describe any two types of the preceding operating systems. Alright, they normally give you like batch and multi-user, multi-programming. They want to describe any two. They're good. Batch is easy. Batch systems tend to only allow you to send one program at a time, and that program must run to completion before any other program can run. Alright, and then let's go with multi-user systems. Multi-user, I mean, you could do multi-programming. Multi-programming, I mean, multiple programs could run at the same time. Actually, no. Multi-programming would be an easy one to explain. Multi-programming systems can schedule the CPU time to run multiple programs at a time, thus giving the computer a higher efficiency of output. Something like that should be good. If you describe multi-user, it'll be multiple users could use the computer at the same time and submit programs or code or whatnot. Alright, a user is running a game on a computer. Indicate what situation would cause the game process to move from ready to running to block. Alright, they're running a game on a computer. Ready to running cause the game process to move from ready to run. Okay, ready means it's in the ready queue. Running means it is currently executing. Okay. The CPU was processing the loading screen and it finished its tasks. So the game process moved from the ready queue into the CPU to be executed. Run into blocked. The game needed access to a saved file and had to wait for it to be accessed from the hard drive. Alright, we'll take that. The hard part is to get yourself in the mind frame of a game, like you're playing a game. That's not exactly that straightforward. Okay, a user playing a game that accesses a small file on a disk to get a high score. The game processor reads the file, gets the value, and uses it in the process itself. Right, a user playing a game that accesses a small file on a disk to get a high score. The game processor reads the file, guess right. Briefly explain how an interrupt is handled by the processor above. Okay. Playing a game. Access a small file. The game processor reads the file, guess the value and the process itself. Okay. The game process that was running would be paused and moved to the blocked. No, it will be moved to the ready queue. While the interrupt is processed by the CPU. Once the interrupt is finished, the game can return, game process can return to the CPU. Yeah. Briefly explain how the round robin scheduling algorithm works. It's kind of weird, again, that this part here for 4 marks they give you 4 lines, and then to explain how round robin works for 3 marks they give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. It's very, I don't know. I'll try to rationalize it and make sense of it, but I don't think I can. Don't. Alright. Round robin. Each process is given a set time for execution called a quantum. When the process has run for its allotted time, it is moved into the ready queue. This repeats until a process runs to completion, where it exits the CPU and is killed. Yeah. Alright, so process gets a quantum. Quantum is amount of time, runs for the amount of time. When it runs for the amount of time, it will either get put back into ready queue or run to completion, and we call that judge. Let's see what our answers held there for us. Our answers said batch systems, a set of jobs are collected, run in batch mode one after the other. Each job has all the resources of the computer at its disposal. Okay, multi-programming, memory is partitioned into several places as different job is run on each partition. This allows several jobs to be run simultaneously, achieving greater output. Right. In multi-programming, I have the system could schedule the CPU time. Multi-user systems, they have computing by isolating users from each other. Each user is able to use the resource of the computer if they were completely dedicated to one. Alright, so for the second one, they wanted to talk about memory, not the CPU. But multi-programming does have a part to play with the CPU because the CPU now uses a scheduling algorithm so it can run multiple programs. So I will keep my answer because multi-programming is not just about partitioning memory. multi-programming is putting round robin in place in the CPU, or some sort of scheduling algorithm in the CPU, so that it'll be able to handle multiple programs coming at it, not like a batch system. But the memory partitioning one is acceptable too. I'll die on that hill. Alright, CPU can become available so the game process gets to run or executed. That's the answer. CPU can become available so game process gets to run. Wow. I talk about loading screen and all kind of thing. Alright, cool. Guess I'll just have to take it. Then they have game may be waiting on a particular device which is in use. Alright, I have save file. Cool. Alright, the game process that, you could be waiting for a particular device, like you pressing the play button or you pressing the start button or the X button or whatever it is. That'll be acceptable too. A user is playing a game, right? So they have to access the file. They say that there is an IO interrupt that to access the disk. The process has a context switch at that time. The file is read and then the CPU is also interrupted to continue the previous process. Or the game is being played and it's in the running state. And game moves from running to waiting for the IO interrupt. Yeah, alright, same thing. Alright, the game is being played, it's paused, move from running to waiting, it waits, the interrupt runs through, the interrupt gets the file, once it gets the file, it moves from ready to running again, and when it runs, yeah, okay, cool. That's what we have. Now, last one, which is the one that they gave you a whole lot of space for. Each process is given a certain amount of time, a time slice, and that is not, if it's not finished by that time, then it's moved to the back of the process queue. Next process is run, and then it's run. Okay, cool. Same thing. Okay. Should be good there. Go to the next one. Next up is 6. Alright, you're required to design a computer network. Briefly explain why network security and interconnectivity should be considered when designing this network. Okay, network security. Security would protect the assets on the network, like the file servers and the devices from unwanted access, unauthorized access, thus maintaining the integrity of data. And then we have interconnectivity would allow the devices within the network to communicate effectively and allow for efficient communication. We'll take that. Alright, select any 2 layers of the OSI model and describe the role each plays in data communication. Alright, so we'll go physical first. This is easy. Physical translates the electrical signals from 5 volts and 0 volts to 1s and 0s that can be understood by the CPU. And then we go with I don't know, we could do data link, I would do transport. Transport is an easy one. The transport layer breaks down and reassembles packets that are sent over the network, ensuring that all have been sent/received. Alright, transport does that. You could also do network, which is assigns an IP address You could do data link, which assigns a MAC address, presentation, session, and application. All of those are like common choices. All right, no problems there. Right, part C. This is the newest part of the syllabus, which is SQL. People who do, well, if you do Unit 2 IT, SQL is part of the syllabus there, but it's all up in the air as to how deep the syllabus wants you to be able to go. Now, in normal SQL, you just normally do create table, insert into, delete from, and then the selection queries, right? Select from where, and you select stuff. But they have a special one inside the ComSci one called inner join. And inner join is basically to join two tables to create a relationship so that you'll be able to do a query. And that's the only thing in the syllabus that has me kind of concerned, because learning to do the inner join may or may not be necessary. But I think this question here has needed to do an inner join. Now you could do a query on two tables with two different fields without doing the inner join, but I think they want you to always join the tables when you're doing the query. So we have a database that has patient ID, first name, last name, address, and date of birth. Then they have test ID, patient ID, test type ID, test data, and test results, and all of those things, right? Now these things in bold here, obviously they are primary keys. So what we want to do is we want to write a SQL query that will return the names and addresses of all positive cases where test result contains the values positive or negative, and 7 marks for the query. A query for 7 marks, that's a lot. So we want to select, we want to get the names and addresses of all positive cases. So select first name, or no, if you have multiple tables, you can just put the table names in front of it, right? Which is why I'm confused about the inner join, because if you don't use the inner join, you could just state the name of the table that they have. But so select patient ID dot first name. I don't know if they want the first name and the surname, so we'll just do both of them. Patient ID dot surname, and patient ID dot address. And we also need to select test ID dot, what do you want? Status. Yeah, test result. Right, so if you do that, you select all the things that you want, and then you want to say where test ID dot test result is equal to positive. I forget it from, my bad. From the two tables we're working with is patient ID and test ID. Right, so you're selecting those fields. The reason I have to put the dots is because I need to differentiate which table I want to pull the information from. I want the first name, patient and surname and address from the patient ID table, but I want the test result from the test result table. And as I want to put it, from the patient ID and test ID table, and I want to return where test ID result is positive. Yeah, so we're returning all that. So this is one way to do it, but as I said, there's also the way to do it with the inner join, and I'm not too sure if they require you to be able to do it with the inner join or just do multiple table queries. Last question, which is explain the role of a hub in a local area network. I'd say that's power hub in the middle, and then put some devices. Put one computer here, next computer there, power server here, and put a printer. So just put PC. Right, now the difference between a hub and a switch is a hub broadcasts all the information. A switch kind of tries to make sense of what is going on. So let's say a hub broadcasts the communication signals across the network, allowing it to devices to communicate and respond to each other. Let's just leave it at that. Now, let's see what our answer sheet has for us. Number 6, right, so they want us to answer this. Network security concerns making sure the network is protected from outside intrusion. Alright, we have that. Interconnectivity concerns connecting the network with other networks. Issues such as compatibility with other networks are important. As the second point, compatibility with other networks are important. Alright, well, we have to allow for efficient communication. We'll take that. Alright, so they are network data link, physical transport session, any one of those. We explain those, that's alright. Let me see what they have. You see, they have the inner join. So they have select first name, last name, and address from patient, inner join, patient testing on patient ID. So they want to use the patient ID as a primary key from the patient table. Yeah, so you see that from statement, from patient, inner join, patient testing on patient ID. That basically creating a relationship. And then where they have where patient testing, yeah, oh shucks. I put the wrong thing. I put test ID instead of the name of the table is patient testing. Right. So I'm not too sure if I want to die on this hill or if I want to like force the use of the inner join. I really have to come up with a view on this, because if we use the inner join, that means we learning how to create the relationships between the two tables by joining them, and they clearly wanted to use inner join here. But if you don't use inner join and you just use the name of the table dot the field, it would still work, because if you were to put that in SQL and you have primary keys and you have foreign keys, it would assume that relationships exist. Yeah, the answer that they have here, I am caught in between, because the way that a question is phrased when you're using inner join may say assume that the tables are not related, or assume that the tables have not been linked, or some kind of thing like that. If you assume that the tables are not linked, then you would know you have to use the inner join. But if not, you could assume that they are linked and just use the name of the table dot the field name, and it will work in normal SQL situations. Yeah, alright, but we'll stick with that. I really can't say exactly, but I guess learning the inner join wouldn't hurt. Yeah, I guess learning it wouldn't hurt. You basically have to state the name of the table that you want to join by, the field that you want to, the name of the two tables. So first table, second table, and then you join on the common variables that they have, instead of just making the assumption that they are already related. Okay, we leave that up in the air and hope that they do bring any SQL question. If they do bring an SQL question, well, good luck. Well, what wait. They didn't put the answer to part D. The whole specimen paper have a 3-mark question for part D, which is the role of a hub, and they didn't put the answer there. They just stopped by the SQL question. Oh, I think because 15 marks had expired already. 4 and 4 is 8. 8 and 7 is 15. Yeah, that's true. Part D wasn't supposed to be there. Because this is actually 18 marks. Somebody made a mistake and added in an extra question. And don't think it's not possible for them to do this in your real exam. Eh? Like, it's totally possible for them to make mistakes like this, because I don't know, these people they're really good at making mistakes in papers and things. They really are. So, Yeah, but you have question? I believe that's 99% correct there. Right, so of course, thanks for watching. You made it to the end. If you're looking for Cape IT classes that you want me to teach, you could check us out at education.makeITsimpleTT.com, and you will see all the different packages that we have for Cape IT classes. And of course, you could always come back to this YouTube channel, and there'll always be free videos here to explain different things to you. But if you want dedicated classes that will explain certain things to you and make sure you understand the syllabus inside out, then check us out, education.makeITsimpleTT.com. You'll see Cape IT, and we have a various set of classes from crash courses all the way down to full-on classes with assignments and IA assistance and paper 3 assistance. So you can check that out, makeITsimpleTT.com.